The first president of America was not elected in a democratic election. He was appointed by the Founding Fathers at the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Initially, there were no political parties. The convention was deadlocked between large states and small states, and so it was decided that each state would get one vote, which gave smaller states more power. This led to the appointment of George Washington as the first president by unanimous consent. There were no debates, no campaigning, no elections. He was the unanimous choice of the delegates because he was a war hero who had led the American forces to victory in the Revolutionary War against the British. But as the first president of America, what were his accomplishments and what were his faults? Let's find out. 1. Under his leadership, the capital was moved from New York to Philadelphia and later to Washington, D.C. during his first term. The United States acquired vast amounts of land through the Louisiana Purchase, which doubled the size of the country. He also established the first cabinet and the executive branch with departments like the Treasury, State, and War. On the other hand, his faults were 1. Although he owned many slaves, he did not do anything to end slavery. In fact, he believed that slavery was a necessary evil. 2. He was a very poor man. Although he was the richest landowner in America, he was deeply in debt. His total net worth adjusted to inflation would be way below zero. He could not even afford to pay for his own inauguration. Congress had to pass a law to pay for it. So the question is, was he popular or was he a dictator? Well, he was neither. He was more like a monarch. You see, the Founding Fathers did not want to make George Washington king, but they also did not want to go back to the system of monarchy. So they created a new system of government with a president who would be both the head of state and the head of government, both the ceremonial figurehead like a king and the leader of the country, like a prime minister. As far as his popularity, he was immensely popular. People loved him. He was on 239 of 268 newspapers during his lifetime. He was called the father of his country, but at the same time, he was a dictator in some aspects. He established the two-term limit. He established the precedent of the cabinet. He established the precedent of the vice president. He established the idea of the national bank, even though it was unconstitutional. So in conclusion, George Washington was the most powerful and the most popular president in the history of the United States, but he was neither elected nor was he perfect. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to watch more videos like this one, please subscribe to my channel. Who was the first president of America and why is he so hated? Okay, so the American system of government began in 1776 with the signing of the Declaration of Independence from Great Britain. Then in 1781, the United States Constitution was drafted and ratified, establishing a federal republic with a representative democracy. Under this new system, the power to govern would reside in the people and their elected representatives. The President of the United States would be the head of the executive branch of government and would be responsible for enforcing the laws passed by Congress. Now the first president of America was George Washington. He was unanimously elected by the Electoral College in 1789 and inaugurated on April 30, 1789. He was the unanimous choice of his party, the Federalist Party, and he chose to run without a platform or any specific policy proposals. Okay. So what were his accomplishments? Well, first, he established many of the norms and traditions of the presidency, such as the two-term limit and the practice of giving inaugural addresses. He also appointed the first cabinet, which consisted of 5 members, 1 for each of the departments of state, treasury, war, attorney general, and postmaster general. And he also established the first executive departments and agencies, such as the Treasury Department and the Post Office. Additionally, he set precedents for presidential power, such as the use of the veto and the power to remove cabinet members. However, despite these accomplishments, he also had some faults. First, he was not a strong supporter of civil rights. He believed that slavery was a necessary evil and he did not believe that African Americans were equal to white Americans. He also opposed the expansion of suffrage to include people who did not own property. Second, he was not very effective at managing the economy. He appointed a series of unqualified people to the Treasury Department, and he did not do much to prevent the economic crisis of 1792. Third, he was not very successful at foreign policy. He angered the French by remaining neutral in their conflict with the British, and he did not do much to improve relations with Native Americans. So was he popular? Well, when he died in 1799, he was widely mourned as a national hero. However, his popularity declined after his death as people began to criticize his policies. Today, he is generally regarded as one of the most respected presidents in American history. However, there are some who argue that he was a dictator who established a tyrannical government. They point to his suspension of civil liberties during the Whiskey Rebellion as an example of his authoritarian tendencies. However, this view is not widely held, and most historians agree that he was a strong but not tyrannical president. So that's what you need to know about the first president of America.